Okay guys, welcome back to our series on mitigating robberies or how to mitigate robbery. Now, in our previous video, we would have dealt with whilst the situation is unfolding, you are in the robbery, and we would have given you some information of how to mitigate such a circumstance. In today's episode, we're going to take a look at what happens after the robbery. So the robbery would have taken place, the assailants would have left. What do you do after the fact? Nice, so stay tuned and let's get at it. Right, great. So just to recap what we would have spoken about on the last occasion, we would have spoken about our acronym KOHELETH, how to use this acronym KOHELETH to navigate or to mitigate the situation of a robbery. The robbery has taken place and the assailants have left. What do you do? Generally, there's a course of action that must follow, and we're going to take it step by step. Now, one, the most important thing after a robbery is to preserve life. And the preservation of life may mean your own, may mean another victim, it may even mean the assailant. Now, yes, I know. Some persons may be wondering, well, he tried to rob me. Why would I try to preserve his life? And there are a lot of reasons why. But I will only give you one good reason. In the event that you would have been the one inflicting the injury or the life-threatening injury, you want to show that you would have taken steps to preserve that person's life, because you do not know what will happen down the road in relation to the legal matters that may follow. So to ensure that you have an advantage, if in fact it reaches to that stage, you want to show that you would have taken reasonable steps to preserve life as much as possible. We try to get medical attention to whoever the injured persons are by calling the authorities. If we are trained, once again, trade call comes down to training, and at Hubris with our combat care, our medical combat care course, you would be able to be trained in how to treat with certain injuries right there and then, especially if it's a loved one or yourself, right? So first thing is preserve life by ensuring that persons receive prompt medical care. Good. Secondly, you want to call the authorities. You want to radio the authorities as soon as possible. From once you realize that the medical care is being taken care of or it has been initiated, whether it's just by making a phone call to the ambulance or you taking steps to ensure that persons would receive medical care, you call the authorities, you call the police, you may call the fire services depending on the type of injury, you call the ambulance, etc., etc., etc. Having communicated with the authorities, the next thing you want to do is to write down your mental notes. Now, in the last video, we have spoken about making mental notes, making observations and making mental notes. At this stage, you want to take the opportunity to write down whatever mental notes you would have had, especially as the information is fresh in your mind, because as time goes by, you may forget key elements, you may forget important things. So once the time permits and once the opportunity presents itself, make notes immediately, as much notes as you can. Some of the notes you can make are your observations of the description of persons, descriptions of vehicles, direction they would have left in. You would make notes of witnesses, the names of the victims, their names and addresses, as the case might be, because you want to give as much information as possible that you can assist with the investigation as it goes forward. As things progress after the robbery, you want to be able to assist as much as possible. It is important for you to cooperate with the police. I can give you one really good one. You do not want what happened to you to happen to another person or to happen to someone else. And if you have the ability to assist with the police in apprehending the suspects, to put them in a position of where they will not be able to do this type of thing again, then you need to cooperate. So just making mental notes or making written notes, it isn't sufficient. You need to, as much as possible, communicate with the police, give them all the information that they require, give them all the information that you have, and cooperate as much as possible. And and if it comes to court proceedings, you need to make steps to attend court and be a viable witness and help persons be convicted of the, because again, the traumatic experience that you would have gone through, you wouldn't want another family member to experience it. And so you have to take steps, or you should take steps to mitigate it as much as possible by cooperating with the police throughout the whole process. We can agree that a robbery is a very traumatic experience, and it affects different persons in different ways. Some persons, they continuously relive the account, especially if there was an assault involved. Some persons, they depending on the type of assault, it scars them for a number of years. So it's important to seek psychological care. You would know your state at that time, and even if you don't know, family members or persons around you will observe a difference in you, and if they tell you, then you should really take steps on your own to get that mental care or that mental help. And nothing is wrong in seeking that psychological assistance, and I'll tell you why. Being a victim of a traumatic experience could seriously inhibit your way of the way you do things, and you may not realize, but that traumatic experience could cause a certain behavior change in you that may not be positive, right? So just to give an example, depending on who your assailants were, you may now develop a fear for people, or develop a fear for persons who resemble the assailants that would have caused that trauma or that fear. And it will be broad brushing persons generally, or it will cause you to profile persons generally, and form opinions and that kind of thing. Likewise, if you don't take the opportunity to get that care to mitigate that type of emotional setback or that psychological setback, it would also affect the way you treat persons generally. You can go into a state of reservation where you don't go anywhere anymore. You don't enjoy life as you used to. You're afraid to venture in certain areas. You're afraid to venture out to do just normal, typical day-to-day chores, as the case might be. So, getting assistance to treat with that trauma is extremely important. Lean on family and friends who can guide you and be there to assist you throughout that post-traumatic experience. Now let's look at the situation where during the robbery, you're a firearm user's license holder, and during the robbery you would have used your firearm and you would have engaged a couple of the suspects, and persons are seriously injured, maybe even would have succumbed to their injuries, as the case might be. What do you do? What to expect? So firstly, once the scenario, the situation is safe, as much as possible safe, there are no more threats to life, there are no more danger to persons, the first thing you want to do is to holster or secure your firearm. And it's important that you holster and secure your firearm, because you don't want to end up in a scenario when authorities reach on the scene, they see a man or they see a person, could be a woman, they see a person armed with a firearm, brandishing what they may perceive as brandishing a firearm. Because you don't know what type of report they would have gotten that would cause them to be there. Even if you made the call, they may not perceive that you are the victim, because they would come expecting a person armed or persons armed with firearms, and when they pull up on the scene, guess what? Person armed with a firearm. So one of the first things you want to do once the scene is clear or the scene is safe, you want to secure that firearm. And this is crucial because as the investigation begins, you will have to present that firearm at some point, right? What is going to happen? Of course, the police would have a duty, and they will do their duties diligently by investigating the scenario, especially persons were injured and they succumb to the injuries, and the police will take the firearm. Now, they're going to take the firearm for evidential reasons, to have it evaluated. Even though you would have reported certain things, they would still have their course of action to do, and one of the things that they will do is they will take possession of the firearm for evidential purposes, and you have to expect that, right? And That's an expectation. And they will take it, more than likely they will take it on that same day and at that same time when the investigation commences right there and then. So you have to prepare yourself mentally for that. You have to prepare yourself emotionally for that. Of course, you can keep in communication with them. Like I say, you communicate with the police, you work with them to ensure that at the soonest possible time that you'll be able to retrieve your firearm as the investigation continues. One of our courses that we offer is our report writing course. It's an online course. The cost of it is $580. It gives you an insight into how to prepare a report, a police report, because you will have to report, because they will ask you questions and you will have to report certain things to them. Now, this is important to understand. Depending on the scenario or depending on the circumstances, along with your actions, it is crucial to understand what you report and how you report. There's a very thin line, a very, very thin line between that self-defense, manslaughter, and murder. You have to understand where that gray shady area is between all these circumstances and what are the mitigating factors between them. Because in your mind, what you may perceive as self-defense, in the eyes of the law, may be manslaughter or murder. And if you do not understand the dynamics of these things, then you may well report yourself into a cell. Good, so tap into our courses, especially our report writing and our statement preparation courses, which are done by some legal minds, prominent legal minds, very successful legal minds, and experienced instructors that are going to guide you through the process of how to report and what to report. I trust that you can use this information to guide you along as things happen. If in fact they happen, God willing, they don't. And if they do, you have some information that you under your belt that you could pull out and use. Even our medical combat care course is another aspect that you can take advantage of. So let's say, for example, you end up in a scenario and you are wounded. You would have, at least in some proximity or some understanding, how to treat with that wound care, or to care for that wound before actually reaching or getting to the medical institution. Now, some firearm users strictly believe that the weapons that they have is strictly for making holes, and which it does make holes, totally ignoring the fact that another person may have a firearm that could also make holes. So there are two things that you must understand about being a firearm user's license holder. One, how to make holes, and two, how to fix holes. Because to come away with the notion that, listen, I am here just to make holes in things, without understanding if somebody make holes in me, that I need to know how to plug holes and how to treat with it, depending on the different types of injury or the different type of wound that it is. So you can take advantage of our medical combat care course. You can take advantage of our report writing and statement preparation courses, which are online. The report writing and statement preparation courses are online courses. Yeah, so this is Barry again from Hubris Strategic and Hubris Tactical. Yeah, guys, so that's it. Take it easy and be safe.